Welcome to episode 1 of Feather Touch Healing's Mama Mentor Moments. Hey, I was just rocking out in my own way to the disco age of the song by the Miracles, You're Just a Love Machine. Thinking about how, Mama, you are a love machine. And today's topic is skin to skin. And it comes right out of that same era, the 70s. But let me just give you a little history first. Let's back up to the 50s and 60s so you can kind of understand where we've come from. And there was a lot of thinking back then of behavioral science where the mom was loving and nurturing and fed the baby, and so therefore the attachment must have come from the nurturing acts that the mom did. And then they started thinking about, yeah, but what about touch? And so people questioned it, and there was this rhesus monkey experiment. And from that we knew touch made an absolute difference. And so now there was this incident that occurs in 1979 in the 70s. And in Bogota, Colombia, there was a hospital that didn't have resources, desperate for incubators, babies needed warmth. What were they going to do? They got very creative and said, okay, let's do this. Let's have the mom wear the baby in a wrap and she'll be the incubator. What happened was life-changing. World-changing. What happened was that the babies were thriving, breastfed better, earlier, and were discharged earlier. So they knew something was up with this, and that began the revolution. So it went to North America, went worldwide. A man named Niels Bergman is from South Africa. He now takes this information, takes it a step further, and looks at the neuroscience behind it. Well, what is that? So if you place the baby on the mom, reflexes come. You don't even have to work at this. They just come. There's chemical things that happen, and that causes movement. The movement causes 9 stages the baby gets to the breast, and in an average of 74 minutes, babies would attach all on their own with no help whatsoever. So this just changed everything, called the breast crawl. And he took it further, and he studies the social, the cognitive, behavioral, psychological effects of all this. And there was also a 10-year study done to the same effect. By 2010, this was now being implemented in American healthcare. And I, being an obstetrical nurse for 35 years, was part of that whole game. So what was happening is that in that initial 1 hour after the baby's born, which is called the golden hour, which we've seen develop now over the last 10 years from 2010 to 2020, that's great. We've seen such amazing things happen. And the American Pediatric Academy wants you to be able to get that baby and then not have it separated from you until after the first feeding in a hospital. And that is being implemented. But what I'd like to extend to you today is that there is this thing that Niels Bergman introduced called a trajectory. What can I introduce today that will have long-term rocket effect, the trajectory being far out into the future effects for my baby? And so let's talk about the love machine that you are. The hormone is oxytocin. And oxytocin is just an amazing, amazing tool because it is the love hormone. It is the exact opposite of cortisol, which is not the love hormone. But they each have their place. A baby's born, cries, screams, cortisol levels go up because things have to activate in the body to make all these things happen. But yet now we want them to come down from that initial stage of being born. Respirations are working, heart rate's working, so now we want the baby to breastfeed. So the babies come to you, and there's this settling and the crawl, and the baby starts to want to nurse. That is what it was meant to be. But you can extend the use of the oxytocin for months. And this is the difference between just saying, oh, I did it in the hospital after the first hour, and I'm going to implement it into my mothering in what I like to call the 4th quarter. So if you think of pregnancy as 3 separate quarters, add the 4th quarter and you have a complete game to see a full 12 months that this baby from conception until 3-month-old. Taking advantage of that, what are some of the other benefits? Well, it's going to help the C-section mom, for example, because she had a C-section, didn't deliver vaginally, and therefore not as much oxytocin was made in her body. So skin to skin levels the playing field for her. It does bring down the cortisol, so anytime there's a very upset, stressed baby, and perhaps birth itself caused some birth trauma to the baby, and that is why now I, as a lactation consultant, using craniosacral therapy, get very good results, because we're kind of combining all the ingredients now into the recipe to help the baby breastfeed further. And then it's going to actually make more milk. So what mom wouldn't want that? Especially a mom that's struggling to get enough milk made. Maybe you were stressed at the delivery and your thoughts are keeping you such that you're negative thinking. Let's go into the skin to skin. Get in your bed, just do a stay vacation, just lay there with the baby and just chill. That is just one of the best ways you can help yourself, because it's going to actually rewire your brain and the baby's brain. What do I mean by that? It's very typical after delivery that a mom will have like a lull where there's just a sadness that comes on the second day. It's hormonal. You can actually reduce that to get it gone if you do a lot of skin to skin. And there are moms then who are prone to who get postpartum depression. Their symptoms can be made better if they do skin to skin. What are some other things? So in the hospital setting, let's say your baby went to the NICU. Advocate, tell them I want to do as much skin to skin as possible. It's going to even out their heart rate, their blood glucose, and their respirations. And that is key when a baby is in a NICU setting, to advance them and get them discharged from that as soon as possible. And while you're in the NICU, advocate for them to be on your chest to help you and your breast milk and them advance. Dads, there is a wonderful opportunity with skin to skin to have you be able to be involved. A lot of times if mom is exclusively breastfeeding and there are no bottles involved, you're wondering what I can do to get really bonded with my baby, and skin to skin is the answer for you. After a breastfeeding session, just put baby on your chest, cuddle up, and enjoy the journey. And lastly, I'd like to talk about baby wearing. It is so important, but sometimes baby wearing is just a baby placed on top of your clothing and the baby has a onesie on and a sleeper on. What I'm advocating for is for you to get models where you actually can place the baby in them and you have your naked chest, their naked chest, of course they're wearing a diaper, and then you cuddle up. And that will help to promote the skin to skin. Again, the trajectory, the neuroscience behind it is going to just make them better. And also there are different types of wraps. There are cloth wraps. You can watch YouTube videos to find out how to use them. There's lighter ones for the summer and heavier ones for the winter. But just keep baby wearing, because the studies definitely show that it reduces crying, and that's always going to help reduce cortisol levels in your baby, which is the hormone that you kind of don't want. But if they do cry, cuddle up, snuggle up, it's going to be a great journey. Thanks for watching today's first episode of Feather Touch Healing's Mama Mentor Moments. Look forward to seeing you in the future.